I wanted to take a minute and tell you a little bit about our emergency birth pods. Um, we're calling them EB pods or emergency birth pods. We've got a pretty close to our final list now, which is a conglomeration and bits and pieces from different lists that we've found and different research that we've done, and then we've added in our own more holistic apothecary and a few different things like that, and removed a few of the pharmaceutical things that we didn't feel were absolutely necessary. So we've pared it down. Right now we're actually looking for a student intern from BYU or anywhere else, MCU. Any students who are interested in applying for that position can do so, and that will be to research all of those items and then come up with the best possible sources. So it would be online research, and then we would be creating these pods, and the idea is that we would build the pods here and then just have them deposited all over the place. And each pod, when you build it, becomes a birth center. So there's 3 tents, there's special equipment that has, like the Doppler package has solar battery recharging capabilities and things like that. So it's done so that it's not going to be dependent on anything. It's just you can erect this thing in the middle of nowhere with no power and no water or anything, and you'd be able to do it. So there is some water storage involved in it. Hopefully there's water somewhere nearby, but I think we have water filtration systems too, and water holding. So that is something that I'm really excited about, and we're kind of getting to the point where we're almost ready. I did, like I said in one of my earlier videos, I did talk to one of the midwives who was actually on call and responding to some of the calls that were coming in. And they were handling it quite well. There's quite a collective there of midwives. They were very organized, the midwives were. So they had their ducks in a row. They already had this all set up. So I think it would be great to get it set something like that set up in every single community. I don't think we have anything here in the southern Idaho Snake River Valley, but I'm definitely going to bring it up to the community of women who I associate with here, who are midwives and birth center owners. I think that that's a good idea. That's something that you could have on your list if you are connected to the midwives in your community, or if you are involved in birth or in midwifery as a student or a midwife or a doula or someone that's involved. Maybe you could take a project, or ask someone else to connect, see if they would like to take that project on of just building these networks where people can, there's an app. And I know that you can't always rely on phones. That's true. I think there should be a backup option for connection that does not rely on cellular, phones being in working order. I know for sure that will also be an issue at some point. So make sure you have emergency communication plans with your families, that you have like a place where you're going to meet, or you have something so that in your city, if your wife is pregnant and she's at home and you're at work and everything, and there's an EMP and you don't have your cell phone with you, that you have a plan for how you're going to get to her. And I think we just have to think these things through a little bit, even though, maybe we have the normalcy bias so thick that we cannot admit that this is really happening. That's about 90% of the folks, actually. And that happened in the Second World War. It has happened all through history, where people don't believe things, even when they're staring them right in the face. And it's so obvious that that's a possibility, and yet they still act like it's not. So, but whatever, it is a possibility. If the head seismologists at the University of Washington say it's a possibility, then just get over it, whatever it is that's keeping you stuck in your normalcy bias. And you probably don't have a normalcy bias if you're watching mine, maybe as much, maybe because you're here. But the reality is that that we need to be prepared ahead of time if we really want to have an effect. And one of the ways is by having these emergency birth pods situated in areas, I think sort of just outside cities actually is probably better, just because inside the cities can usually get pretty crazy with looting and gangs, and that's one thing that I know will also increase is gang raping. So please, ladies, get yourself a first aid kit and keep it with you. Get yourself a bear spray. When they have amazing stuff now. My husband bought me a flashlight that has, I don't know what it is, but it zaps them. Rape goes up 300 times statistically in a post-disaster setting. So I'm praying for the women there. That's what happened to Katrina. Women and children were raped daily, multiple times, gang raped, every day in those big buildings. Women were wiping fecal matter on their bodies to prevent, and the children were, to prevent being raped, and the men would urinate on them. I know this firsthand. Not firsthand. I know it from someone who experienced it firsthand, who I trust. So, you know, if you're living in that delusionary place of thinking that things are always going to be the way they are and that you're always going to be safe and everything's going to be great, well, partly that is true, and that's a good place to be, but not in a like, you need to have both eyes wide open and don't pretend like you don't want to stick your head in the sand like a little, you know, pink flamenco. You want to keep your head out of the sand, and if you're keeping your head out of the sand right now, you're going to have extra gas, you're going to have a plan in place for evacuating your house, you're going to have a plan in place for when you're in your car, having an emergency kit, having an emergency birth kit. And then if you've got any extra money and you want to donate to this, please donate on our website, emergencyvillages.com, and specify that it is to go to the emergency birth pod, and that can be placed wherever we do this training. Our goal, we've trained hundreds and hundreds of women now. We've got about 70 people booked in Pocatello for this coming week. On the 16th of September, we've got a class. It's just getting huge. So, but wherever these women are trained, I'm going to have one or more of these large birth pods placed in near those cities, so that you could erect just outside the city if there's like there's a fire, if there's whatever the heck's going on there. You know, it's a great way to take care of women and babies. And prostitution goes up because of rape and prostitution, and actual sex trade will increase dramatically. So that those three things make it so that there's a lot more people who are pregnant, a lot more babies, and a lot more need for like condoms and things like that. So think of storing extra things like condoms, because STDs are very, very big in post-disaster settings. Aren't you glad you came? Well, we can talk about this and still have fun, right? No need for glum faces and no need for fear. It's just, it is what it is, and it's nice to know ahead of time as far as I'm concerned. I pray for the guidance to help people to really be able to realize that this is coming and that it's okay. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. And we just need to be ready, because there's waves in the earth and things change, and there's waves like, you know, the Depression of the 1930s, and there's these waves, and they're very pretty consistent. There's a book called The Fourth Wave or something. I haven't actually read it yet, but I got it on good authority that that's a good book. But the truth is we're coming up for a wave here, folks, so get ready. And no fear, Char's here. And check out my website, callonthemidwife.com, and you can buy my films on there, and I've got them on super hot deals right now. So order those films. Those are like 4 hours. Some of them are between 2 to 4 hours each. Really extensive, detailed instruction on how to manage vitals for mothers and children and babies in low resource environments when they go outside of normal range. So even for nurses who are used to working in the hospital, these films will be very helpful for you. So for anybody wanting to develop their field birth skills, continue watching these clips. I'll continue to put more on here. But check out my films. Those are, like right now, the cheapest I've ever had, the newborn exam. It's only $49. It used to be like, close to 200, I think. And it's detailed. That thing has everything. So it's good for anybody who wants to learn field birth or midwifery care, the midwifery model of care. Bless you all. Take care. Bye-bye.